Hello and welcome to Dell's Gaming, and this is From the Depths. And in this episode today we're going to start with my second favourite thing in From the Depths. First is building stuff, second is blowing stuff up. So we're going to start the campaign in this first episode, and I'll go through in this one what I intend and some little rules I have on my own and stuff like that, and we'll go through it. So first of all, we are running 3.158, so that is the version we are starting with as a starting point. Other one, just so that you can see, just to keep it open, is my configuration. So normally I use 2019 settings as a starting point, and the only change I make is the automatic detection accuracy is down to 1% from 10%. So that means that stealth vehicles will not be totally 100% stealth, but they will be very, very difficult. It also means that if I knock off all of the detection equipment of a ship, it will have a very difficult time attacking. So yeah, but it won't be totally oblivious to what's around there, and that's the settings I use. So let's go single player, and we're going to do a new campaign. So we ignore the tutorials because it's assumed you know how to do the basics here. If not, we are soon going to find out about them. I should go through these at some point, but not now. So we're doing it. There is a couple of mini campaigns which are based upon Netta. But we are going to do the main campaign, which is Quest for Netta. There's a nice thing to read there if you really want to. Now, custom settings. Now, I'm setting up a few rules on my game for me to follow, which but I also want to have this show as many different ships as possible, so we see all the different versions. So as far as difficulty settings, right, no captures. I will not be capturing ships on purpose to get resources. I'll only gain resources by mining and or destroying stuff. Now I think maybe 10% is too much. I think 5% is adequate for destroying, considering that I'm not going to be doing any combat against anybody. Damage, yeah, 100%. I like things to damage as they're designed. Both sides. Mine don't damage anymore, and theirs, etc. Enemy growth. Now we're going to start at 100%, but I'm going to change this as I go along. And the other one is going to be combat. So rather than setting it high, now I don't know whether this is a true fact or not. I know in previous campaigns I'd seen a lot of people ended up like in the against the Deepwater Guard, lots of squirrels. Now I don't know if the campaign just focuses on higher level ships if you increase this, but I would like to see some of the lower level ships, so that in my builds with my other little rules I can go against a whole range of ships and we see them all. So basically I'm going to start at a lowish level, but each time I win an area, I will take it up a little bit. So each time there is but when I start in a new faction, I'll take it down. So that way, hopefully, and tell me if this will work, if you think this will work or not. Hopefully, as I get near to the end of a particular faction, I'll have their best quality ships, and then it will go down for the next faction to take on. Now it may work, it may work. If I lose an area, then I take it down. The same with the enemy growth factor. I'm going to move this up each time I take a faction. What we got? We got 2. So I'm going to say I'll take it up 10%, 10%, 15%. Yeah, I'll take it up 10% each time I win against someone. Yeah, we'll start on that so that it will get a little bit more hectic near the end. As I start getting more, we'll give the remaining factions a little bit more. Anyway, there's some of the rules. I have a few others that I will go through in the game, which is my way of playing. So let's begin a new campaign. So it has started us on the starter resource fort and in the corner of the map. Now in this campaign, what I'm going to do is, let me just get in this starter group at the moment. So I'm going to have a few little, what should we say, let me just check the distance I'm at. Okay, I should be alright. Just to modify this. I'm mainly going to be building things based around early German Navy. So this is the Imperial German Navy, which was formed in about 1871. Let me just sort out a few things whilst I am getting this done. When the formation of the German Imperium. Now that was formed when the Northern German states, the Northern German Confederation joined the Southern states, and they started the German Imperium, mainly with Prussia was one of the main. Let me just get that right. Okay, was the main, how should we say, group. They had the king, and they were mainly in charge, basically, and they took what was in the Prussian Navy, which was basically a lot of armoured frigates, corvettes, etc., lots of sailing ships, and the first thing they decided to do was to upgrade their ships. So we're going to have certain of some going above ironclads, but there's going to be some torpedo boats, early sort of pre-dreadnought battleships, cruisers, that type of thing, based upon the German, at least looking similar to what the German Navy had, and we'll take those through the Deepwater Guard, and as I go on we'll move up into the World War One and then into World War Two, post-war, etc. So what I'm doing here at the moment, let me just get myself sorted out so this will actually work, is I'm actually want to rebuild the starter fort first of all. So let's just get a little closer actually. Let's go forward a little bit and turn around that way and head over to the fort. There we go. Just so we get close enough, and that should be close enough. Let's stop there. That's far enough for all those to work for me. And one other thing I want to make sure is that this is set to have 100% of the materials that are available, because what I'm now going to do is come off here. Oh, I want to stay. No, that was the wrong thing. I didn't want to come off on my character. I wanted to. Okay, that's better. That's better. Now, build here. So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to rebuild this. There's a lot of extra materials in here, and the first thing I'm going to do is retrofit it to a new design I've got. And I've got so the first one we've got is the Kaiserliche Marine, is the basic first German Imperial Navy, the Kaiser's Navy, and we're gonna basically base everything from Keil. So I have a little design. I have a few versions of it. Let's go with that. Oh, it's gonna try to do some of those there. Let's just bring my boat around with all of its repair units into range, otherwise it will not repair it, which would be come on. I'm glad I don't have to drive these ships normally, because I'm terrible at driving the ships. But let's get it close enough so that it will build the ship at first. I'm also going to collect all of the nearby resources, which is an interesting thing that only the player can do, and you don't need there we go. So all my repairers are now working nicely to build this up, and that should be done lickety split. Let's just stop it there. Try and go backwards a little bit. Come on, slow down. That's it. I'll go back onto it now, I think. So this is my Keil harbour, basically, and it's got some nice little mining drones, a little starting castle area with all of the necessary my main area to look at. It will take a little while to get up to full production, as it's mainly battery and brains going RTG powered, but it's only going to give full power once the batteries are fully charged. Now in the meantime, I can get rid of that starting rib now, because we will not need that anymore. So starting rib, goodbye. You served your purpose, but now our starting fort is going to take over. So we will there was a few gifting bits there, so let me just, that looks okay. Connection rules are on, good. So first on the map we have a smallish area we can see, and the name of the game here is going to be to capture some of these squares. Now first of all though, I want to defend my area, so some of the ships I want need to be defensive in nature. So first ship I'm going to build is going to be a torpedo boat. So this is the torpedo boat S7. So these were some of the first designs for coastal defence, etc., that came through in about the 1890s, and something that was, they first of all started with torpedo boats that were by Thornycroft, UK makers of ships, etc. But the designers then started making their own. Now the S designation, some people get this wrong. There's like this, the S7, S89, but there's also the G100 and etc. And they think the S at the beginning letter is the type of ship, but it's not. That's actually just the place it was built. Like S is actually the, I'm going to get this wrong, so excuse my German, but Scheichau works in Elbing, and the B is the Blommenbos Hamburg, G is the German word in Keil, V was AG Vulcan in Hamburg. So the letter was actually the name of the place it was built. So what I'm going to do for self-defense measures, because I don't know what's going to be coming up, I'm going to build 3 of these, and they will be basically staying with, until they're needed, they will be staying with my home base as local defense. So basically I build them using my little port, and then I haven't got to worry about telling these to go anywhere, so we're just gonna let them all
moving now.
Get built. So one of the things, all my ships will be built at the Keil harbour. That's going to be one of my little internal rules I will use. I will build everything here, and I'm going to upgrade this as I need to increase the size of the ships that I'm building. One more. So I'm going to build some new dockyards and areas. So all of the capture zones I get will be bringing resources back to here to do building of all the new ships. Now I'll repair ships can be repaired out at sea. It's just new ships will be built here. Again, don't need to do that. If you're playing the game yourself, don't worry about that. You don't need to do that. This is a purely self-imposed rule I like to play with, just to give myself a little bit more difficult a time. Obviously, yes, I have reduced the settings a little bit already to help me. Now, next thing, you can see at the moment that my visual area is rather small. So if I want to see what's happening in these other squares, and you can see that I've got a capture square in them, I need to find some way of seeing in there. And the way I'm going to do it now, you can do satellites, but generally in the 1890s they didn't have satellites. But what they did have, and I'm going to build it over here because I don't think it will fit into there very well, but we'll put it here, is flying boats. Now, one nice little flying boat, what I can do is go over here and, okay, let's just modify this actually. Let's build it airplanes, say, over here. Give it a range of 20. We'll hold it until it's complete. And what we've got here, under the flying boat, is the Zepellin-Lindau RS-1. Now, people think of Zeppelin as the airships, which we'll get into later, but the Lindau was actually a flying boat, actually though designed, he was working for Zeppelin, by Dornier. And Dornier, as you might know, went on to build many aircraft later on, to, let me just take that one out so I can do it separately. So yeah, ended up building many great aircraft for Germany throughout the years. So just to explain what I did there, was you can select the vessel to separate it, and there is an option when you select one to split from the group it's with. So I don't want it part of the home fleet, because I want to set this up on its own little trajectory. We'll just let see it go off. So there it goes, and it will take a little while just to take off, and it's a bit finicky, but it will land and take off in the water as long as it's relatively calm, and it goes up to a reasonable height. But the main point about it, if I just take over here, is it's the basic design, and I try to follow some of the design as much as I could. The main part about it is it's got the these radar basically here, which obviously is not something that you would have in 18th century Germany. It has also got spotting, so lots of visual cameras, etc. on there, but the main thing is it sort of follows the Zeppelin-Lindau. Actually, the Zeppelin-Lindau was a lot bigger than this. This is actually a miniaturized version in many ways. So now let me just set it on a little route. So what we're going to do is I'm going to try and select it. There we go. And we can say, right, go over here, high as possible. You can see it's got a 400 meter. Now hold down shift, go into this corner, go down to here, and then come back here. And then if I just right click on there, it now makes that a patrol route. Another little rule I have about aircraft: they either have to, if they stop, they have to stop at a base, an aircraft carrier. If they're float planes, then potentially they can be just tender, etc. But otherwise they have to keep going. Now I'm going to actually take it out of play, and then we'll see what that. Yep, there's a nice bit more visual range we've got just from a little flying boat. So that should now, hopefully, as long as it keeps getting resources, let's just check the resource situation. Yeah, that's fine. Actually, that's a good bit. I need to check what the resource situation is for this, because I think it may, yeah, it's set wrong. I only need to keep 1%, but I need to keep to keep most of my energy. 50% should be fine, and it's a creator. So what did I just do there? So the resources, the way the resources work is resources are sent from one vehicle to another, and you can see resources being sent to our Zeppelin from our home base. And under the new rules or new system, you can select a vehicle, you can have it set to be a creator, which obviously our home base is, and creators just mine the resources and then give it out to other people, quite simply. So they will fill cargo ships up they will, there we go, we don't need to keep much because we give it out to whoever is going past. Second stage is cargo ships, which we will get into. They pick up from creators and take to either back to creators, or that's used to build ships, etc., or take out to fleets out at sea. The user is the obvious one, which means it is a ship, like our torpedo boats. And finally is don't do any sharing, follow a different set of rules. Then we've got how much to keep. So in this situation, once it gets not the maximum, if everyone else is full up, it'll only keep 1%, which should be 1,450. I think if my basically on here, anything above that is because everyone else is full up. So I would guess now, my if I just change one of the torpedo boats as an example, I'll do this on this view, it's set at 50%, so it's got 50% resources, which is correct. If I set that to be 100, you'll notice, which one did it go to? Oh, there we go, that's gone up to 100% resources. I think 50% is enough for that ship. So it automatically sends everything within the green circle. The green size of the green circle is set by how much resources you have. So this can have up to 179,000, so it creates quite a large circle. It is a diminishing return, but that's the way it works. Okay, so we're seeing these areas here, and we'll notice there's a capture circle if I hover over those. This one cannot capture for some reason, but this one capture here. So I can capture these ones. I think it doesn't work out diagonally for some reason, so we're going to work on a little group to go and capture this area. So how about, well, another little torpedo force. They're quite quick, and they are my go-to ships for the moment. So the only difference is now we're going to load them in, but I'm going to take it out of here and set it to go up here once I can.
Moving now.
Once it's released, it will go up the top there, and I will build, let's say, 3 torpedo boats. Now we'll do 4. Make a little torpedo force, I think, just to quickly go and scout out the area. Now, one thing about whilst it's building, just to talk about German torpedo boats. These are what they class ocean-going torpedo boats, the S7s and the follow-on classes. Now, Germany didn't really at first have what you'd class as, or what they classed as, or what the British Royal Navy would call a destroyer. They tended to just have very large torpedo boats, and they didn't really call them destroyers. They would just call them torpedo boats, or large torpedo boats. The main difference was, and this was carried through most of the war into World War One, is the average German large torpedo boat destroyer was generally heavy on torpedoes, light on gunnery. They were generally smaller than the Royal Navy equivalents, and they were also generally a very low silhouette. They tried to be they didn't have great seakeeping, and they tried to have a low silhouette so they were difficult to target. And that was a commonality until later in the war, when they did build a few more which were more akin to what we would modern day call a destroyer. So let's get them, let me just get them all built up, and then we can put them into a little group. And I think I'll build an escort, one escort group as well. So I've got the 4 torpedo boats now heading as a group, but I'm going to add to them a little flotilla leader. And this is going to be the Wacht Aviso, which is, so the SMS Wacht and the SMS Jagd were a German early Aviso, which is now an Aviso is it's not a cruiser, it's not a destroyer. It was a largish, lightly armed boat. Now, for different countries, the Aviso came from early on. These would be dispatch boats or advice boats that would carry messages between fleets and groups of ships that were not contactable by flag or light, etc. And so yeah, that's how the name came about, really. They were effectively advice ships, so that's where the name comes from, as such. So these for the German were a second group after a few previous versions of Aviso, and the SMS Helena, I think it was a prior and SMS Helena or Helga, anyway, previous ship. But one of the key bits was they were one of the first ships to have an all steel construction, an armoured deck, and a sort of armoured protection similar to a protected cruiser, what became known as a protected cruiser. But as it gets dark, because we do have now time and weather involved here, so the sea has got a little rougher and it's suddenly gone dark. Great timing for that, just when I start talking on the on the video. And yes, the other factions have started to declare war on each other. We'll have a look at that later on. We'll just let them declare war. Then I'm going to get onto the new ship and take it for a little stroll into the Deepwater Guard's territories. So anyway, I was talking about the Aviso. So the Germans used this as a sort of a way to escort some of their torpedo boats. They also used it in their coastal waters as a patrol ship, doing everything from fishing boat patrols, and also it did sort of fulfill the role as a colonial boat, which is what the Aviso in the French Navy was mainly used for going, being powerful enough in, say, the lower African and Asia and East Asian territories. It was powerful enough to defeat local pirates, rather than being a ship that was used in the main fleet. So the Aviso was an interesting concept of ship. I think used by a lot of more smaller colonial places that just need a small ship. The Royal Navy tended to put cruisers out. It had a larger area to go to, needed to go around fast and still project quite a lot of power, so it tended to use cruisers more frequently in the colonial role, to control quite a large area with a very powerful cruiser. So that's also now completed. So if we go on board, so this is armed with some 88mm guns. These aren't great weapons, but they do knock wood out quite nicely. Some machine guns just I use the 16mm here as a like equivalent to a Hotchkiss machine gun type of system. Powerful, you know, a 1.5 inch Hotchkiss rather than a 50 cal or such like that. And it also had some deck mounted torpedoes, and we'll look at the torpedoes on the torpedo boats. These are the same system. Now you can see the sea's getting a little rougher, which is causing a bit of roll on our ship, which is something you have to contend with and could give us problems with the torpedoes. But yeah, in the campaign, normally when you're playing in tourneys and a normal game, it's nice and smooth and you haven't got to worry about turbulent waters. But yeah, once you get into the campaign, this can be a boon as well, because it does make you move around, which means targeting you has to allow for your constant increase in out and decrease in altitude and roll, etc. So it does make you a little bit more difficult to target, and also targeting the enemy. So it's a bit of a plus minus there as such. Anyway, so this is the SMS Wacht. Hopefully that's the I think that's pronounced correctly. The Aviso, similar to the, sort of based upon some pictures I'd seen of the ship. Almost we put pictures of the various ships up on screen when I'm going through. So next, what we're going to do, we just take these all out of play just for the moment to speed things up. And what we're going to do is put these ships into a single fleet. So we do that by selecting them all.
Receiving.
Making sure that they're selected. Put it on. And we're gonna, then there's a button that says merge these into one fleet. So if we now click that and let's go into mode, you'll see they're all gone. Now for some reason it's given that as the flagship. I don't want that, I want you as the flagship. Thank you. So now we'll rearrange these to be relative to where I would like him. I'd like him in the lead, and then maybe the torpedo boats following in behind. I know it doesn't really make too much of a difference, but I like to organise my fleet. Now one sad thing now is that nowadays if you go into fleet mode, they don't automatically go back to this position or hold this position. Every ship has to be independently capable, for want of a better word. Right, now let's move them up to the corner. Now the other thing I want to check is what is the various ships. Just make sure everything is set up correctly. Yeah, they're all set up as a user. I'll rename that one actually. Rename that as the this is the first one, so this can be the SMS. Caps lock was on SMS Wacht. SMS was Senior Majesta Steiner, or is it? Anyway, it's His Majesty's. Effectively, it's the same as His Majesty's ship in German. SMS Senior Majestic Schiff. Sorry, yeah. Senior Majesta Schiff, I think it is. As I say, my German's not very good. Not really my my forte, shall we say. Okay, let's just let these all get into position. And the other thing I want to have is these need enough materials, because if they do get into a combat, they I don't know, use their materials for various elements, and I want to make sure they've got enough to survive. So what I might do is get the Wacht here to have a little extra, so to take everything it can. Still doesn't give it much. These have not gone to where I would like at the moment. Let's
receiving.
Now, although I haven't got full supplies, we'll put them on the offensive, see what they go. The worst case, they can run away. Now, another little thing with the map. Now, I'm aiming them for this red capture square. So this is like a capture zone in a if you do World of Warships, etc. Now, what you'll see is a blue zone will also come up, like in this area. This is the defensive area. So any enemy ship in the blue will stop you capturing. It was like the zones on some of the missions in the World of Warships. Now, the other thing on the map here is you've got two speeds, and this it depends on the maximum speeds of the ships. So at the moment we're running at cruise speed, which is 6 meters a second. Some of that is because that gives me my you'll notice here cruise speed is 7 meters a second and is 11 material per minute for steam. So that's my burn rate. So I should go 60, 180, however many meters that will be, but obviously it uses less. If I go to top speed, which is 18 meters a second, but it's going to use a lot more material, and the more material is 6 times the material, roughly, just under 6, 5.5. But the speed is only less than 3, 2.7, 2.8, something like that, the speed. So it's more efficient to have a low cruise speed for this type of period where it doesn't matter. But I could always, as a fleet, set it up to go at the maximum speed. You can see it's gone 18. It's going to be using a lot more materials, but if I needed to go get somewhere quickly, maybe to intercept an enemy fleet, I can. So now that is an option now for strategically on the map for using certain fast fleets. And I've just thought I'm going to rename this fleet. Let's rename the fleet. What should we call this? This is going to be the High Seas Scout Squadron, and that's, there we go. See, High Seas Scout Squadron. There we go. So yeah, that gives you a bit of a tactical options now when with your fleets as to how fast you go. Where do you want them to be economic? And let me just pull all for the moment and get the speed up on here. Yeah, do you want to be economic or just get them to an area? Let's get them into zones. So we've not actually uncovered any enemy, and we didn't see any in this area, and we can see at the top there it's a green box, so I'm guessing that's the brain's gone. That's obviously the Deepwater Guard. That's Onyx Watch. That's not really Onyx Watch area. So now we're in the capture square, capture circle. You'll notice here now we've got capture in progress, and it's ticking down. So you've got to stay in this red without any enemy getting in the blue until this capture goes down to, well, gets to 100. Now, one thing we can do, I'm just going to turn that off, is I can get this now to come up and in this area as well. So let's get this running up here. It's going to go up there first, then it's going to come down to here.
Moving out.
And then back
Moving
here,
out.
and then
Moving
make
out.
that the new route for it, so that it will use its maximum detection, and we'll see a little bit further north. So that's now captured, and our blue box has now extended to the north. Now we are friends with the Onyx Watch, so we won't take those. So we're going to this square over here, I think, next. We'll
Moving now.
give a little marker to head over in that direction. Now I'm not going to adjust my config. We haven't fought anybody, and these are effectively, I wouldn't say free zones, but they're not owned by anybody yet. So I think it's safe for me to capture them without adjusting any settings. Just while I'm on here, one thing I wanted to say, about the new starting position and resource zones. It all makes sense so far, and I quite like this capture mechanic. It is better than the previous one where you just turned up in the box. One other little bit is the resource zones. Now, the starting resource zone, if I can get it to show up, there we go, the travelling garbage patch. This has got a very large starting reserve and growth rate at this moment, which is good for starting. It means we're going to have quite a lot of resource points as a starting player. The previous version of the campaign, the starting resource area was a little bit light on material. It made it difficult to start up. I'd had a few campaigns. Oh dear, looks like I've just had a message just when I was explaining. Anyway, yeah, previous versions had a problem sometimes starting up. But anyway, this is the start of the war type system, and we'll look at the how it all works in a second. But this is a message from old Grumbly Guts. If you wanted to go look through the reasons why the Deepwater Guard, or we want revenge on the Deepwater Guard, so yes, got in cozy, we're coming for you basically. So if I just take that down to there and bring up the diplomacy, which is F1. Scores and failures, not worried. World economy, we're not worried about that at this moment. Relationships, so this is us as the player, and these are the various Deepwater Guard, Onyx Watch, White Flayers, Twin Guard, Lightning Hoods, Steel Striders, Grey Talons and Scarlet Dawn. And this is our reputation. So at the moment, let's see, the Onyx Watch is at war with the Deepwater Guard, and we're friendly, which means that you know, the Onyx Watch won't attack us, which is good. The other ones are suspicious and or friendly, which is also good, certainly at the beginning. But the Deepwater Guard is now seeking reprisal with its -20, so they're going to be coming after us, but that's fine because I'm going after them. Now at the moment there's nothing we need to do on this here, because they declared war on us. So but if you took one of the other ones which we're not at war with, we'll take here the White Flares. When you click the box here, which is under the player next to them, I could declare war, which basically puts you at a minus. There's no previously there was a reputation, you'd either demand stuff, etc. But it's nice and simple. You're either at war or not, and if you do things in their territory, it'll either make them more angry at you or less angry at you. So for the moment, we're going to keep the Onyx Watch friendly with us. I don't see any reason to necessitate a war with them at the moment. We will just, I'm going to set up a few preliminary
moving out
bits for our aircraft. Oh, why can't you see there?
Moving out.
There we go. So in anticipation of our fleet going down into this zone. Hopefully this should be another capture without problem. So if this all captures without any issues, my plan is to capture this one, capture down here, pick up a few resources, because we've got some resources available, and then I'm going to move into the Deepwater Guard's actual territories down the south here, and actually start taking back some of their areas. So after successfully capturing all of those uncontested zones, we're now heading into the Deepwater Guard's own territory, and we've been resupplied. Instead of going back to the home base, I built another new little ship, which over here is, this is the SMS Van Grutsen, or a armed version of the ship. Now this is a stereotypical merchant ship. The actual Van Grutsen was actually built in 1913, but the design is generally similar to a lot of early and actually middle. It didn't change very much. The design is fairly basic, but it worked. And actually, in fact, the SMS Graf Grodson still is working on a river, sorry, a lake in Tanzania, and it is the last still surviving German Imperial Navy ship in the world, I do believe. Certainly the only working one. So anyway, this is a cargo ship, so it has its resources set to cargo on this. So it basically, you set it low and it gives out its resources to all the other ships. So we're now heading into this area, and we're going to use this as a supply vessel. It's also going to have a special role in the upcoming areas. So yeah, our ships are now heading over towards the Deepwater Guard territories to see what they can stir up. Well, while we were capturing this area, it looks like the Deepwater Guard have actually come and trying to attack us. So I'm gonna have to put our fleet onto high speed move and send them back, and at the same time I'm going to try and get our plane, which is basically unarmed, out the heck out of there, although it is blockaded. So now I'm just going to have to hope that my fleet here, it's running at full power now, can get into that zone. I don't think there's anything I can do here because I'm blockaded. I can only wait for the timer to run out, unfortunately. Yeah, they caught me. So let's get hope. Let's speed this up and see what happens. So the only option I have here is begin battle, but my aircraft has no weapons, so I'm going to have to begin the battles and then immediately end the battle. There is no point in having that here because yeah, it was going to lose anyway. So I'm going to bring back the blueprint back to here so I can rebuild it in my main base. And my high seas fleet are gonna basically go and get these back. And I'm going to set this up. I want to see what happens after a battle, whether it picks up. Now we're going to run at full speed. He's capturing. He's done 48% on the capture. It does take a while to capture. Hopefully I can get there before he fully captures. Well, he's either disappeared or he's certainly not in view anymore. A downside of having a small view range, although my scout plane is now ready to once more come and try and find where the enemy has gone to. So we're going to take our fleet into this zone up here. Let's see if he came from in here instead. Ah, what have we got down here? Jacob Scorns, he's ended up down here now. That's interesting. But maybe I will go into this zone and try and see if we can get him to... see if we can find where he came from. And we have caught up with the Scorn and can now take it into a battle. Oop, he's still moving. Why is, how come he can still move even though he's showing out of play? That's a little strange. But anyway, we're gonna... he was able to get right up to my area, although I suppose they could have moved into the area, which is fine. So we put that there. Let's see, you're gonna let's get into formation. So a nice little flying V heading towards the Scorn. It's quite a quick ship. It's fairly small though. Let's have a look how we go. So initially, let's see, let's go and have a look at it. We're starting to speed up. Our torpedo boats are gonna basically come around the side. Our 88s look like they're already doing a bit of damage. They don't do great damage, but they do like taking things apart. And we have some torpedoes coming in by the looks of it. So the torpedoes I use are, I'll show them here, let's see if I can, are basically unguided, but they use a one turn. So a couple of seconds after being launched, they will try to lock onto a target, but they are designed to only fire at fairly slow targets. I'm guessing this is lost control, so it's going to go slow, which means that the torpedoes will start coming in. But they are all armed with machine guns and the 88. So the idea, hopefully, is either a lucky torpedo or the machine guns will slow it down and let the torpedoes come in and do the main damage. That's the idea, anyway. Well, won that one. That wasn't too difficult and not too unsurprising, to be honest. Right, let's just take the ships out of play. Now, will it continue on the way to the waypoint, or have I got to reset the waypoints up? Let's give it a second just to see. Oh, it is continuing towards the waypoint. That's good. I know a previous version, one problem was after a battle, even if you had lots of waypoints set up, it would basically ignore you and just stop moving. So, okay, we're going to capture this area, and we've got a capture in progress up the top. That could be the Deepwater Guard capturing some of the sorry, the Onyx Watch capturing the Deepwater Guard, but I want to get this one down here next. Yes, an Onyx Watch. They're coming in. Now we don't want them to get too much territory, because I want it all for me. But also, one other thing, that was a battle that I won. So, options, and it's a capture of their territory. So under the campaign, oh, I haven't finished, but let's assuming I am gonna finish. I take up that by 1, a 0.1, so a 0.2 on there. Yeah, that's the rules. Of course, you don't have to do it that way. I'm doing that because I don't know why I'm doing it. I'm doing it because it just seemed like an interesting way of making the, you know, having some rules around the game. So I'm going to set up a new patrol zone for my aircraft. There we go. Yeah, it just gave me some rules to run by. Now we've got quite a lot of material back at our home base, so I think I'll be able to look at some new ships soon and create a second fleet to protect my areas from a roving Deepwater Guard. But at the moment I think we'll just continue on as we are at the moment, and hopefully we'll capture this area and the one below it. Now the Onyx Watch here are heading towards my area, but I'm hoping they will respect that this is my territory and you have to bugger off. Yes, it's my area. Stay away. Don't want you here. Yes, thank you. He turned away. Right. Now down and capture this area next.
Moving now.
And it looks like we've got a resource zone with some areas, so I think that's going to be our next attack point. What I'm going to do is capture this area here, and oh, we have some enemy coming in. We might have to attack early here actually. Can I attack them from this range? Yes, I can. And we're going to go for this outpost as well. I'm going to do a double attack here. Yeah, we're going to come in with just about all our fleet. Yeah, we're coming with all our fleet. It's a small enough number, that will be fine. So we've got two groups. We have a scuttle gun and we have the Sinner's Outpost are our targets. Let's begin battle. Now, one thing I'm greatly hoping here is that our ships will avoid the land there. If they start running aground, it means that I'm going to have to allow for the problems with the From the Depths AI, if it becomes necessary, and design them to avoid the land, because it is going to be close. We'll see what happens. So someone's firing here and is a little bit late. Now this is long range. These are, what have we got here? Scuttle gun. So it's like the paddle gun. It's got some longish range crams by the looks of it. There we go already. It's going to start trying to have a fire maybe. And then we have the Sinner's Outpost here, which is a little different to what we had previously. And yeah, that's what I call torpedo bait, definitely. But those guns could cause us some serious problems. Very nice modelling, by the way. These flat guns as well. He's trying to have a fire at us, but I think if I look around, I think our 88s are going to be having a go at the scuttle gun. Yep, and our torpedo carriers, one of them seems to be having a bit of a problem, but
receiving.
Yeah, I don't know why one of us is having a bit of a problem. Maybe he was having a bit of a steam problem. Anyway, looks like our Aviso and the torpedo boats are coming up nicely. I think they're possibly going to be going for the scuttle gun first. Again, these are slow targets, so I'm guessing these are going to be torpedo targets. So just looking at the torpedo ship, as you can see here, now it's got one torpedo on the front and then two torpedoes on deck guns, and then I have put a 4 barreled machine gun on the back just to give it some sort of close-in defense against aircraft or small ships. It also is good at disabling small craft. Now torpedoes, as I said, they're basically a HE warhead, a one-turn fin and a torpedo propeller, and that one turn after 2 seconds aims at the target. Only shoots at targets which are at least 1,000 blocks, and really is really designed for around the 1,000 yard range, 1,000 meter should I say. Now these haven't fired, which says to me that maybe this scuttle gun is below size, in which case it's going to be a guns only type attack, and it looks like they're doing quite good actually. They're whittling it down. The 88s are coming in. It's being whittled down bit by bit, but no torpedoes as far as I can see. Or oh, was that torpedoes? No, I don't think it has yet. So our torpedo boats are just going to be circling it, firing their Hoskis. Now what's happening over here? Is he... Right. I don't like the fact he's heading towards the land there. That's not a good sign. Let me just see what's happening with Oh, he is going to the opposite direction, which is good. But yeah, I'm not confident about the From the Depths AI as far as navigating the land goes, especially on bigger ships with quite a wide turning circles. If you've got something which turns on a dime, it seems to be okay. Anything with a larger, it seems to have a problem. Now the scuttle gun has been finished off. Let me just come back here. So now it's the Sinner's Outpost, which should be torpedo bait, although I am a little worried that these guns are going to get in a few good shots against my torpedo boats. We're firing, which is good. Oh, those guns are giving, they have got a decent range and they are firing out. Ooh. Someone just took a hit. Let's see who they're firing at. One of the torpedo boats, I'm guessing. Let's see who took a bit of damage there. Can't see anything particular. Now I'm guessing torpedoes are going to be flying soon. Oh, going into night time. A night battle for torpedoes. Some of my ships actually, even though it's for night time, do have spotlights, and he's aiming at that torpedo's trying to aim, I think. Let's see, are you got your torpedoes coming out yet? Not quite. Not quite in range. Almost. The front torpedo should be firing. There's the front torpedo. So these are quite fast. As you can see, they only run on the surface. They are not underwater torpedoes, and yeah, they are doing a nice job. They're pure HE, and they are definitely doing a job on the Sinner's Outpost, and that should be it. So we'll pull all our forces out and make sure these are set to do some repairs. The Graf Grotzen will meet them in this capture area and do some resupply and repairs if necessary. But these should all head back to their original target, which is in here. I'm just going to retarget it. There we go, so it goes straight to it. Right, so next turn, that's the start of this campaign started. What I'm going to be doing, I haven't captured that area yet, so I won't increase my options, but I will when I capture this area and increase the difficulty. So at each square that I take, I will increase the difficulty a little bit. As always, you know, let me know what you think. As I say, what do you think about the little rules that I run? It adds a little something to the campaign. Not saying it's missing, it's my own set of rules, etc., just to add a bit of fun. I will be sticking basically with historical looking ships. Now I'm going to say that I'm mostly okay against Deepwater Guard, Onyx Watch, maybe the White Flayers. I'm going to have to start getting into slightly more advanced ships, and I will or my sort of plan I've got in my head is we're starting with the pre-dreadnoughts, the late 19th century, early 20th century, pre-World War One dreadnoughts, etc. Then keep with them hopefully for Deepwater Guard, then maybe going into the actual dreadnoughts themselves, World War One style of ships for the Onyx Watch, if they use those, or the White Flayers, depending on which one we choose. And I might have to adapt to the ships a little bit to fit whichever enemy I'm going against. And then eventually going into World War II level ships, early or post World War One, pre-World War II, then into the Kriegsmarine World War II, and then eventually into more modern day ships. And it looks like we've got a river home coming in. Okay, I'm gonna put this down. Oh, something fast, and a swordfish. This could be a little bit more. We'll hold it there. I'm just gonna pause this for the moment. Okay, so that's the plan. Sorry, I was going to say Kriegsmarine, and then we'll look at post World War II, more modern ships going forward. Now, some of the designs, I will use the looks of the design from the pictures that I've been able to find, but I will adapt the weaponry and other little bits to sort of fit, but fit in with the enemies I'm against. As an example, anti-missile defences. I'm not going to put later. Obviously, missiles weren't around in the pre-dreadnought, so they wouldn't be expected to defend against them. So I'm going to have to find a way, if I'm against someone that's using a lot of missiles, to sort of defend myself in a something that fits within the design of the ship. Let's put it that way. I don't want maybe later on lasers coming out as a sort of like a ARS type of rework of a German ship. That's fine, but early on we'll see what we come up with. Anyway, as always, let me know down in the comments down below what you think of setting rules for campaigns. They're only my own ones, but do you do the same? Do you like having your own set of rules for when you run a campaign, or do you try to go all out at the very beginning? There might be a few other rules I'll mention at times on designs, but I'll come across those as I go through. I do try and it's like I'm not starting off with satellites and lasers and missiles, because it's not in keeping with the ships I am building in the period. Until next time, though, leave a like if you liked it, leave me any comments, keep playing the game, and have fun.